Hey, welcome back to Rocket Refuel. We got a skeleton crew today, but we wanted to give an update before a huge game tomorrow for the Toledo Men's, which at the time of this recording, it is tomorrow, but it'll be tonight when it's uploaded. With me tonight, I got Dan Rocket Man Savage
Howdy doody.
and Nate the Texas Rocket.
Hey, how's it going?
So huge weekend for both of our teams, close wins, exciting games. And just going to turn it over to Dan. We're going to start breaking that down.
Yeah, we kind of talked to last week. We said the Super Bowl is going to be so much fun to watch because the Rockets are going to be 4-0 during the week, and we got that right.
Well,
But
you and I did it.
well, no, but we the little wrap up was
We're
let's sit
hopeful.
down and have some chicken wings and enjoy the Super Bowl because the Rockets are going to be 4-0,
Right.
and they are. But Nate, you screwed me on my parlay here. Kareem Hunt, first time touchdown scorer. Quinyon Mitchell, pick six to win the game. What the hell happened there?
If Nate would have said a rookie DB on Philly is going to get a pick six, you would have killed it.
And in fairness, in your parlay, it did say that it couldn't pick a player. So just so happened it wasn't the last play of the game. But pick six.
In the first time, Kareem just didn't score. I lost every parlay.
I mean, what? I mean, it was they had 0 points midway through the third. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone thought that the Chiefs were not going to score points. I mean,
I think the first time they were in Philly's territory was in the third.
Yeah. So just a weird game offensively for the Chiefs, and I mean all congrats to Philly. That was a hell of a performance on defense. And listen, I know DeJean got the recognition, but it's just Quinyon. He just doesn't get things thrown his way. They just don't.
No, not at all. And the things that really killed my parlay was Saquon didn't score. And then I had a lot of like Philadelphia Eagles to win by 1-6 or Philadelphia to have a comeback win. They just stepped on their throat after the second possession of the game. And it was just kind of game scripted away for Kareem. Like, you're down, you can't run the ball. And, but man, it's so boring because the matchup we wanted was Chiefs on offense, Eagles on defense. And the Chiefs only had 23 minutes of offensive possession, and most of them was like the last drive of the game. It's a little frustrating to see that Quinyon was the guy that got scored on late, but he did his job. I mean, they were so scared to throw to him the rest of the whole, basically all playoffs. So,
I mean, that's a tough play to defend. Corner of the end zone like that with DeAndre Hopkins. Basically has a range of a 2-car garage door. So I mean, to try to defend on that, when they're throwing to the sideline like that end to end zone, it's just like you're not going to win that one without at least getting a PI.
Right, and it was
stick. He did. Sorry, my bad. He did have that nice stick though in the first. I think it was second quarter.
He did.
I think the 3-yard line. That was nice.
Huge hit. And actually, even on the touchdown that they scored, like that was well defended too. Like that was tight coverage. Like it's just.
And he's definitely on Tom Brady's radar, isn't he?
Yeah, dude. I got screwed on my Defensive Rookie of the Year vote. He lost it via third tiebreaker, and DraftKings didn't give me back my money. Like, he literally tied for Defensive Rookie of the Year. They each had 23 voting points, him and Jared Verse, and they went down to a third tiebreaker, which was like least amount of fifth place votes or something stupid. And like to take a plus 1,600 in week 2 of the NFL season and then lose on a damn tiebreaker, like just a great 2 weeks of betting until Sunday. And I don't think there's
ever been a point in history where you can take that bet line that early in the season with the Toledo NFL rookie and come that close. So I mean, that's amazing.
I just wanted like a $5 free bet back, you held on to my money for 4.5 months. Like, come on, just give me a little free bet. We'll say it's even. Just some stats from Quinyon there because, Kareem just didn't get the touches. Over the playoffs against Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford, Jaden Daniels, and Patrick Mahomes, Quinyon was targeted 17 times. He allowed 8 receptions, 46 yards total, 2 picks, a pass breakup, a 33.8 passer rating against, and a garbage time touchdown. Like, what more can you say? That dude's a stud.
Yeah, and I was thinking today, with us watching his Toledo career, he just progressively got better and better every year, and there's nothing to say he won't do that in the NFL. So he's going to be an exciting player to watch.
We'll see if he just, there'll be a change in the old guard with Darius Slay retiring in the next few years, and if Quinion and Cooper will stay together, and I could see the Eagles running it back next year. They're a pretty damn good team. Okay, Lions. Sorry, the Lions are going to do it.
Right.
Did you guys get Myles Garrett or no?
Nobody's got Myles Garrett yet, but there is that picture going around with Myles talking to Hutchinson and Jared Goff. It seemed like they're trying to sway him a little bit.
Oh, that'd be a deadly punch on each end of the D line there. Holy crap!
I mean, but we're a Toledo podcast, but there's a little bit of proof into what the Eagles did with their defensive line and how effective they were for the game that's fresh in our memory right now. But they drafted all those D linemen. They didn't go out and make a big splash in a free agency or a trade. They built it up, and that's what the Lions are doing. So I don't know what I want them to do, to be honest.
Yeah, I also don't know how much Myles Garrett's going to cost. I mean, it's going to be a hefty number, I'd assume.
He's going to want a new contract, so you're locking that dude in for quite a hit on your salary.
Yep.
And you got to pay Hutch.
And he's very deserving if he can stay healthy after this rehab. But I'll take him as a Packers fan. All right. So that's it for the Super Bowl. We'll get to some draft stuff here in the next few weeks. We'll have a pro day coming up. Combine, I think, is next week. It's coming up. It's pretty soon. We don't have any Toledo guys in the combine, but Harold Fannin from Bowling Green is, and there's a couple MAC guys, I think. So we'll cover football when time comes, but right now we're in the dead center of basketball season. And 4-0 week for the ladies and the men. The women started off Wednesday morning at Buffalo in front of their record crowd of 4,900, mostly screaming children. And from the radio broadcast, Jim Heller didn't come through. Varsity app just was like white noise for the men or for the ladies broadcast. So I had to listen to Buffalo's broadcast, but it sounded loud there. And they broke their attendance record of 4,100 before that, when we averaged 4,200. And that radio announcer was like, Toledo has good crowds, but they're not used to this. And I'm like, hold on. We played at Iowa. We had 6,500 there for Bowling Green. Like, if any team in the MAC is used to big crowds, it's us. And maybe next time they shouldn't schedule that game against Toledo, because we were victorious, jumped out to a huge lead, and then fought tooth and nail just to keep the lead. Buffalo never took the lead after 2-1. And what can I say? Ice in her veins. Kendall Carruthers hits a dagger 25-footer with about 5 seconds left. And Cello Watson hit a 3 right before that for Buffalo, which was an unbelievable shot. That Buffalo team's really, really good. Only 3 losses on the year. And that's huge for Toledo to now be tied with Kent and Buffalo in the standings, and we hold head-to-head against both of them.
Yeah, right now we're second.
So if the tournament started today, we'd be the 2 seed. After that, this road trip kept going, and we matched up with the Old Dominion Monarchs, and Buffalo had to travel as well. They had a good game. They won their Sun Belt Challenge. But one bad thing for the MAC was that Ball State went down and played James Madison and lost. So I know, Nate, you asked me a couple weeks ago if there was at-large hope. I think with Ball State losing and now having 5 losses, I think that they're probably out. So yeah. Ball State looks like right now from Charlie Cream, if you were doing bracketology, Ball State's about a 12 seed, which is pretty good for a mid-major. They needed that one against James Madison. And now it's kind of just winner takes all in Cleveland. So pairing with that, Sun Belt Challenge, the ladies did pretty damn good on the road. They went 7-5 on the road. Never easy to do, especially when you're right in smack dab in the middle of conference play. And they ended up winning the season series against the Sun Belt 15-9. So very impressive. I think the MAC is definitely a stronger league than the Sun Belt on the women's side. But back to our game, we kind of did the same thing against Old Dominion as we did against Buffalo. Took a lead early and then held on for dear life. Player of the game there was Nan, off the bench, 13 points. Basically a lot of spread out scoring. We only scored 56 points, so it's not like we had a ton of scoring in general. Goss had 12. Sammy had a good game with 14 rebounds. And Nate, you were so close with that prediction, dude. So close.
Yeah. It was a good guessing week for me for most men's and the women. So I will just go back real quick. Watching that Buffalo game on ESPN, you're right, it sounded pretty good. I don't know if Toledo's ever done anything like that, but that'd be kind of a cool thing to do for a midweek. I mean, I know we get great attendance, but I thought that was a really cool idea, kind of for community purposes.
That was something that Trisha used to do when she was kind of building the fan base after the WNIT run. Mm-hmm. We probably did it 5 or 6 times.
Okay.
But I think now fan base is kind of built.
Yeah.
So you kind of don't want to screw over the working folk, and it might be something that we do again.
I guess maybe other MAC schools, that'd be kind of cool to see. Just because I thought, like I said, sound-wise, it actually sounded pretty good, and those kids got into it. So it was a fun little game to watch. And honestly, that game just in general was fantastic to watch. I mean, it was just, Toledo came out and just red hot, and then Buffalo settled in, and then at the end of the game, the last probably like 7-8 minutes, that was just back and forth, just battle. It was fun.
No, for sure. And that Chella Watson, she set the visiting record at Savage Arena last year with, I think, like 37 points or 47 points against us. And she had 28, which was actually like kind of good defense against her. But the big point there was their 3-point sharpshooter, Lewis Williams. She was only 4 of 13 from the floor with 11 points. They just didn't have they didn't have bench help. We killed them off the bench. We had 16 bench points. They only had 4. And actually against Old Dominion, it was the same. They had 5 bench points and we had 24. So if you're out there and you're thinking that Ginny's not playing the freshman enough and we're not getting the bench involved, well, you are very wrong, because we are consistently better off the bench than other teams are. And I think in women's basketball, it's even more common to have, shorter teams play a lot of girls over, 28, 30 minutes. And with our senior laden team, we've got a lot of freshmen and bench pieces that are helping us out in defensive struggles. And this team might be playing better defense than Trisha's teams were in the past couple of years, which is a high praise. So do you guys want to do a player of the week for the women?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right, I'll start off. I'm going to go Nan. She nailed 4 threes, over 50% from the field for the week, 9 boards. She's a big mismatch off the bench. And Old Dominion saw that. They were like, damn, like their announcers, you guys were like, damn, this girl is she's impressive. What a body, what a stroke. And still glad that we have her for her last year here. I'm excited to see if any magic happens coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm going to go Nan as well, but do want to give Sammy a shout out. At both games, she was great. So great team leader as always. But it's weird saying Nan off the bench just because of how much she rotates in and the minutes she gets. But yeah, she was red hot.
One Sammy McConowitz, it's just rebounds 9 and 14. Tied for most points in the Buffalo game. I'll go McConowitz. She can just control a game and just consistency, man.
Yeah, never can go wrong picking the mayor. We just touched on it. Standings. Buffalo's alone in first. We're tied for second. And then Miami and Western Michigan are up the rear at 6 and 5. And BG and Central are 5 and 6. So We've got a little bit of space between us, Miami and Western. We hold the tiebreaker over Miami, but we did lose to Western once. So if we slip up, there's a chance that we could fall a few notches. But I don't see that happening with the way that this team plays defense. Saturday, we get a week off for our long travel down to the south and back here. So we only have one game this week, and that's Saturday against Akron, a team that we bullied in the first matchup really early in MAC play. Shelby Brown leads their team in scoring, 13.8. She's a forward, 8.7 rebounds a game. They really don't have any shooters. No one even shoots over, I think, like 34% from three. But Alexis Mobley is one of their other guards. She had 20 in the first matchup against us. So we got to watch her. I think, obviously, we're going to scout her a little bit more, seeing that she was capable to score 20 points against us. In the first matchup also, Sammy had 20, Hannah had 12, and Faith Fed Robinson scored 17. And we haven't really seen much scoring from Faith Fed Robinson as of late. Maybe it just takes a game against the Zips at home to get her back shooting well.
Yeah, it's also nice to see Hannah back in and starting to get minutes again. So, getting those legs fresh again.
Yeah, I think she had 6 against Old Dominion. So she's coming back. All right, that's all I have for the women. Like, we're still chugging along. We've won a couple in a row now, and Ball State's looming for the next time we do this Refuel Air podcast. So we'll get to that game at home. That'll be a big one at Savage. Now for the men, we had the same exact week as the girls. We played Buffalo at home though, and we kind of led the whole way. We were up 80. We won 87-74. Simmons had a double-double, 18 and 10. Sam Lewis stays hot shooting, 19 points. Sonny, 18 points. Owinga was perfect from the field. He had a 3. He had an awesome fast break alley-oop dunk. Good to see him involved. And kind of just, there was a lot of fast, fun dunks in that game. That was a real good game to watch. But the crowd was lackluster. It really took Saturday for Savage to come alive, and that's what we're going to need to see for this team to beat some pretty dang good teams that are going to be coming in to Savage over the next month. So Buffalo, they're not in any kind of race. They're second to last in the conference. Good to get a win over them. And then Saturday, the JMU Dukes came to town, and if you follow our Twitter, when it was 29-14. I think you could tell that my phone was going to get smashed at how poorly we were playing defense. They were halfway through the first half. They were 100% from three and 96% from the field. Like, what a tale of two different teams. And it was all sparked by Sonny Wilson and his defense. He started to get in their face. We quit switching our screens. We started fighting through screens. We started, clapping a little bit, getting the crowd into it. And within a couple minutes, you could just tell the energy had changed, and we were right back in it. And we were only down by 3 at half, and the rest was history. I mean, we kind of led the whole second half. It was nip and tuck. We got up to a 7-point lead, and then free throws iced it at the end. Kowalczyk is doing this thing where we're up 3, and we foul, and it's happened the last 3 of the last 4 games, and teams are getting dang close at catching inbounds passes and shooting it before we foul them and sending them to the line for 3 free throws. So his philosophy has worked. I'll give him credit for that, but it'll be nice to get on top of somebody and not have to foul up by 3 with 10 seconds left in the next few games. God.
It was funny too because the announcers kind of mentioned that before the inbound happened. He said, "I wonder if Kowalczyk's going to have them foul." I'm like, oh, he's 100% going to have them do that.
Yep. That is for sure his MO. But despite our defensive efforts in that game, definitely seeing higher energy, playing a lot tougher, JMU was 13 of 24 from 3, and they still shot 51% from the field. Now, I think in the second half, JMU was just hitting tough shots. Our hands were up. They were, 24-foot contested threes. And for a team that's not known for their shooting, I was pretty dang impressed with JMU in the way that they put the ball in the basket. That's a good team. and that's a huge win, probably the best non-conference win of the season for the men. Some stats in that game. Lewis was 10 of 14 from the field, 22 points, a baller. Wilson turned his defense into offense. He got inside a lot, had a ton of rebounds, especially early in the game. He had 16 points. We only had 3 turnovers. For JMU, a good defensive team, for us to hold on to the ball, and despite giving up a good field goal percentage, just the lack of opportunities we were giving JMU and the fact that they were using up the shot clock quite a bit to get around our much tougher defense was a story of the game. So huge shout out for the men and their defense, and let's see if we can, keep that going, because if not, we've got no shot to win this league if we play defense like we have most of the season. So what do you guys think about that JMU game?
Yeah, I caught the tail end of it, and it was the foul at the end. That was when they were talking about that. I was just getting, because they acted like they had watched a bunch of Toledo basketball, because they were talking about how the coach was probably going to foul instead of letting him shoot it. So I did find that funny that the announcers were saying that it was his tendency. But no, I mean, I like the way that they're playing right now. I mentioned this, I think, on another podcast, that I kind of don't want them to beat that first seed this year, and the way they're playing, they can keep that 2-3 seed and just keep this kind of momentum rolling into the MAC tournament. I like it. Especially this JMU win coming from behind. It was nice to see, because I think earlier in the year you kind of saw them against App State when they got down big, and they just kind of just flattened out. So
yeah, that's kind of been a weird thing about this team, is the lack of fight. Like against Kent at home was horrible. Oakland at home. This is one of those games where we weren't going to get to 80 points, and Toledo was 12-1 when scoring 80, or maybe 13-1 now. And when we don't score 70, we were 1-5. So JMU was saying, keep Toledo under 70, we're going to win this game. Well, we just got over 70, hit 72, and JMU was stuck on 69. Surprised Pat didn't have that as his projection. He always has a 69 in there somewhere, and he went 71-70 and just middled the number. So
usually Ryan or Pat with their maturity.
Yes, exactly. That concludes the Sun Belt Challenge for the year. The MAC went 8-4 at home in the second part, so that's pretty dang good. Ended up 12-12 on the season, so pretty dang dead even with the Sun Belt, a league that overall I think is probably a little bit better than the MAC. But that travel from the South up into the cold, barren wastelands of most MAC arenas is quite the fade spot. And in a couple of years, if we do it again and they're back up here in February, I'll keep that note, because our top 8 teams all won. So good week for the MAC. Players of the week, who do you have for the men?
I was conflicted on this, because Sam Lewis, if you're an offensive person, obviously is your player of the week, but I'm going to give my Dennis Rodman stats to Javon Simmons for player of the week. Just grinding and making sure the team's in great position, getting the rebounds, great defense. The Duke and ball. He's been great all year.
I like that. He had a play when we were getting back in the game where he got fouled at the rack, and he flexed. No, he wasn't. It wasn't a foul. It was a defensive rebound, and he got hacked, and he was swinging his arms, and he caught some chin of the defender, and just about got a technical. He was flexing on him, but the last split second he turned and walked towards the bench, and that's a lot of maturity from him. A guy that sometimes lets the emotions get the best of him, and it's good to see that he's maturing right before our eyes.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing him to, but his game reminds me a little bit of like Charles Barkley, just because he was never the tallest dude on the block, but just was physical and knew where to put himself and get those opportunities. I mean, he's a great player to watch. Yeah,
and he was 100% from the floor against JMU. He only had, I think, 7 points, but he was perfect. So I'm going to go with our player of the week as the MAC's player of the week, Sam Lewis. I think it's the first honor we've had for player of the week this season. He had 19 and then 22. He was 10 of 14, from the field in the last game. I'm going to start calling him Mr. Smooth. He's doesn't have too many facial expressions. He just kind of goes about his business, and he's got a real pretty 20-foot jump shot that when that thing's going, he's a tough guy to defend.
Yeah, I'm going same as you, Dan. I'm going Lewis. Keep it simple, but yeah, offensively, he just gives that team a little bit of a spark.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw actually on the message boards for JMU's, they said, does this Toledo team have anyone that would even start for us? I'm like, well, Ford and Lewis are the two best three-point shooters in the MAC, and we start 4 sophomores. I think for a team with 4 sophomores, we've got a pretty damn good starting bunch. So, JMU's a good squad. I think we got 5 or 6 players that would play on most mid-major teams in the country. Our sixth man was the leading returning MAC scorer, Seth Hubbard from Western Michigan. So
it just depends on what team you're gauging this on. Are you gauging on the first half of the season or the second half? And honestly,
right.
This is really a 6-loss team. I mean, with losses against Houston and Purdue, it's like, come on. But just the adjustments they were able to make, some of the games in the second half so far, I think we're seeing a very improved team that's starting to figure out their chemistry and figure out what works for them.
Could not agree more, Kyle. Conference standings for the men: Akron 10-0, Miami our next big matchup. They're 9-1. Toledo's 8-2. Then we got a little bit of a gap. Ohio's 6-4, Kent 5-5, and then Ball State, Western, Eastern, and Central are all 4-6. So those are teams that are going to be fighting to make the MAC tournament, which is we'll parlay that into what's going to happen Saturday. That Eastern Michigan team is going to be very hungry. But it all starts Tuesday night against the Miami Redhawks. They are 18-5. That's not something that we're used to seeing down there at Miami. They got Xavier's ex-coach, Coach Steele, and one more important little tidbit here. Kowalczyk has won his last 22 against the Redhawks. Starting since the middle of 2012, we have not lost to Miami. That is absurd. That's an absurd number. But this Miami team, they've got some shooters. They can all shoot the damn ball. They're led by Peter Suter, averaging 14.4 a game, and Cam Kraft at 13.8. But Elmer, Kraft, Suter, Byers, Esparro, Potter, Lures, Skajiak, all these guys are shooting like over 34% from three, a lot of them over 40%. I just watched their replay this weekend in their Sun Belt Challenge against Troy, a team that kind of dominated us physically. Didn't matter. Miami just shot over them. This Miami team, if you listen to the college basketball experience, they'll say they've got a lot of staples. And that's what they call white guys that are usually stapled to the floor because they can't jump and they're not athletic. Well, these staples at Miami can really freaking shoot. So that 3-point defense for us is going to have to continue to play hard. Miami's going to make some. That's all right. But that's the majority of the shots that they're going to take. And we're just more athletic than them. We're going to have to get them in foul trouble, go to the lane. Sonny, Sam, everybody just do your thing. They're not terribly big, so we kind of got some length that can match up with them. But just don't let those staples shoot because they're going to knock them down. They're top 10 in the country in 3-point shooting.
It was kind of the game plan against JMU as well as both their big men were in foul trouble towards the end of the game. So definitely pulled in Toledo's favor in that aspect as well.
Right. I think we're just going to have to slash them to death. I'm very excited for this one. Probably the first time I've been excited for a matchup against Miami in my recent lifetime. Do you guys want to do some predictions for the Redhawks game Tuesday night?
Absolutely.
All right, you guys go first.
Go ahead, Texas Rocket. He's been on it.
Again, I don't go against the Rockets. I'm gonna say 76-71 Toledo.
Okay. I just don't like it if we don't get to 80. 80 is that number. We're decent in the middle, and we score in the 70s. We got a chance either way. I'm predicting a Miami win. I'm going to go 84-80, but this is the show me game. We put 30 minutes of good basketball together against JMU, came back and beat them. We played a lot more physical. Maybe the light bulb turned on. Maybe that's what we needed. But I'm kind of in the place where there's no way we're going to win the last 11 MAC games and be the 1 seed again, are we? Like, is this going to happen? Like, the kiss of death for Toledo basketball being the 1 seed. So if we win this game, that could happen. So I'm gonna fade the spot and say our defense was a little fluky against JMU. I hope I'm wrong. 84-80 Redhawks.
Well, you do have Akron sitting up top, so a little bit of a buffer there. But
True.
if this is what I was saying earlier, if this was a game earlier this year, Miami, no doubt. I like what I'm seeing right now. I'm going to say Toledo 80-79. Close game.
I hope you guys are right. After the big one against Miami at Millett Hall, we go up to the George Gervin Game Above Center at Eastern Michigan. A little house of horrors for Kowalczyk in past years. And Eastern Michigan's in that spot that they're just fighting. They're going to play us hard. Nelson, the Rogers high school kid, Henry Terry, big time transfers that can score 30 in a game for them or score 8. We're just going to have to make sure that damage is limited from one of their scores. So they just beat Old Dominion by 6 in their Sun Belt Challenge. They get Ball State Tuesday before us on the road, and then they host Miami after they play us. So something's got to give for them. They got to start picking up wins or they're going to be locked out of Cleveland. I'm going to say that we go and we beat them 78-70 and split the week. But like I said, I hope that we are 2-0.
I guess Dan's reading my notes because that's exactly what I have down is 78-70. But Eastern is a tricky team.
Yeah, you guys see that they got in trouble for point shaving or gambling earlier in the year?
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah, they're one of 5 teams that were under investigation for somehow players knowing the line. I don't know. They were playing Central Michigan and they were 7.5-point underdogs. And within an hour before the game, the first half line went from CMU minus 3.5, which was about the spread, to CMU minus 6.5 in the first half. And CMU ended up winning the first half by like 13 or 14. So a lot of money came in late. It flagged the bettors, and then Eastern Michigan got in a little bit of trouble. I don't know if any players specifically or what the hell happened there, but after that loss, Eastern Michigan won 4 in a row. So they're a weird team. I feel like when they want to turn it on, they can. I'm scared of Ypsilanti right now.
I got a little bit more confidence. I'm going 83-71.
And they have, after that little heater, they've slowed down lately. They haven't been too good outside of the Sun Belt Challenge, so maybe we'll catch them on a downturn. But that's all I really have for this week. Kyle, we have our sponsor.
We do, City Hall Grill and Drinks. With is it put a rocket in your pocket?
Yeah, I gotta put a rocket in my pocket here soon. That sounds delicious. I need myself a margarita.
Like we said, everything they had us try was phenomenal. So I'm sure it's amazing.
Where what? Traditional American flavors meet great times. Is that the slogan?
I couldn't remember, so sure.
Something like that.
But it's a good spot to check out. If you haven't been there, definitely check it out. John Loft's awesome. So if you get to talk to him, good dude to talk to. Just good environment, good food, great drinks. Definitely check it out.
Right on.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate the refuel here. And next week, we'll plan on having a full podcast episode, hopefully in Rocket Ryan's man cave. It's been a while for that. So it's always good to meet and hang out a little bit. So I think we've been almost a month dry just doing Zoom. So hopefully switch that up a little bit. But I'm Kyle W. Appreciate Dan Rocket Man Savage and Texas Nate the Texas Rocket. Last thing to say, TOL.
Yo.